Indian News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy, and let's now get you back to our top story, which is about the visit of Prime Minister Modi to Israel. It was over 2 days, and the outcomes have been very, very impressive in terms of 27 lists. There are 17 different pacts and announcements. There are 10 as well. Apart from that, the elevation of ties is also something worth talking about. We have Ambassador Anil Kumar Trigunath joining us. He's a former senior diplomat. Good evening to you, Ambassador Trigunath. What do you make of the outcome, considering the timing of the Prime Minister's visit to Israel and the overall messaging where the global geopolitical order is concerned?
Well, I think this visit was very significant. It was also replete with a lot of symbolism on both sides, as well as optics, but a lot of substantive domain, as is expected, of a very strategic and reliable relationship that has been there and growing from strength to strength. And that was very clearly evident during Prime Minister's talk at the Parliament that he addressed it, his visits to the Holocaust Museum, the bilateral meetings and the outcomes, and several documents, about 17 of them, that have been signed, and some have been just been in the pipeline. So going forward, what we see is that even though the relationship has now been elevated to special strategic partnership, the fact remains is that this is now going to move in a much more focused direction with the institutional mechanisms that are going to be put in place, whether they are from G2G or B2B or P2P, people to people connect, business to business connect, or the government to government connect. And that is why I find that there has been a very clear articulation of the sincerity of carrying forward, especially both from the leaders as well as at the popular level. We saw the kind of exchanges Prime Minister had, the kind of reception that he had, the kind of statements that they came out. All of them attribute to the fact that there is a sincerity in this partnership.
Right. And in terms of how the direction has been given to the relationship and the kind of cooperation that has been there in the past, we know that Israel has been a partner where India's defense needs are concerned, and these will be taking a turn more and more towards a technology-oriented response to evolving situations as well. And that is the overall essence, perhaps, too, in terms of how the world is going through this technological revolution, and India and Israel, with their respective capabilities, coming together to respond to it, to take the ties into the future.
Indeed. I mean, there has been a focus. I mean, one of the key dimensions of our relationship with Israel has been defense, security, intelligence, and technology partnerships. Israel is an acknowledged leader in terms of advanced technologies, and the fact that they are ready to share these with us, which they have not done with any other country, also shows the kind of trust that has been engineered and has been generated. Now, whether it is energy technology, whether it is in the cyberspace, agriculture, innovation, water management, health, and I think about entrepreneurship, defense, security, AI, quantum computing. I mean, nowadays, new areas. And more importantly, now it has been also agreed to create centers of excellence. Like Prime Minister in his speech at the Knesset mentioned that we have currently 43 centers of excellence for the projects that are going on, and they could be converted into 100 going forward. Likewise, there is a cybersecurity center of excellence, because when the technology grows and the AI really takes charge of a lot of things, it is extremely important that cybersecurity is kept keeps the pace with it. And so I think that is one area in which it will be very, very important for both of them to continue. We had signed an MOU on defense cooperation on November 7th, I think, in last year. At the same time, what we are looking at is that you might say that not many deals have been announced and things like that, but defense cooperation continues and remains a major priority, and which will be now also calibrated by joint manufacturing in India through complete transfer of technology. And they have also offered, I mean, news items have come out that they have offered the Iron Beam and the Iron Dome, which is very, very much required now, especially after Operation Sindoor. And one of the key elements of our relationship has been, as you know, the trust, and the trust in each other. For that matter, Prime Minister Modi was the first leader to condemn the October 7 terror attacks by Hamas, which he also referred to during his speech at the Parliament, at the Knesset. And now the same thing is that Israel stood with India, both during the when the attacks happened in Pahalgam and when the Operation Sindoor happened. It was the only country that stood very openly and supported India to the hilt. And this has been happening all along. I mean, it is not the first time, even when our relationship had not reached a certain level. It was not fully diplomatic in 1971, 62, 65, and even later on in 99 and now in 2025. We have seen that Israel has provided all the assistance that was necessary, irrespective, because they consider their relationship with India as truly important, and rightly so.
And Prime Minister Modi also made that point in the context of Gaza about the path of dialogue and moving towards mutual agreement towards peace as well. And that could be talked about and be extended to other issues that are raising tensions in the region as well, perhaps?
Yes, I mean, I think many people have questioned the timing of the visit, but I think that when the region is on the precipice of real disaster, on the one hand, you have US and Israel, on the other hand, you have Iran, and both of them, and all three of them rather, are our strategic partners. And anything that happens in the Middle East, and Israel knows very well, and so does the US, will have an exceptional impact on India's own welfare and well being. And therefore, it is important that we talk to our partners, try to put some sense into them, and that the war is not going to get them anywhere. Only peace can. So therefore, what Prime Minister said and even endorsed the Gaza peace plan, which is going on, because peace at any cost is always better. And that's what India has also showed. I mean, in our own behavior throughout when we fought terrorism for last more than 4 decades, and even most recently, a fitting response that India gave to Pakistan for its terror acts or the Pakistan-based terror groups. I mean, that is something, that's what India says. I mean, if there is a fight against terrorism, there's no justification for terrorism. But if there is a fight to terrorism, the humanity also must be kept in mind. And the peace is very, very important for India and for the region, and I think for Israel as well.
Another interesting thing to point out is that there was a joint statement that also emerged following the talks and exchanges between the leaders. And the last subheader is transforming the landscape of new global trade, where the two sides have talked about the I2U2 quadrilateral partnership, as well as the effort related to the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. What do you make of the kind of phrasing that has taken place there in the context of trade, these issues of connectivity and cooperation?
Well, as you're aware that last year the trade was a little low, but the trade has been over $10 billion, and the efforts are made to increase it even more. And for that, the initiatives like the I2U2 and the IMEC corridor are extremely important, in which both India and Israel are the major partners. But the IMEC corridor has not really taken off so well because of the Israel-Gaza war that was going on. And now that that is likely to be settled, I think the efforts are going to be made on that particular sector, which has been left unattended. UAE is a very major partner in this, both for Israel. USA is also important, Europe, to go to Europe. So therefore, trade is very important, both in transit as well as bilateral trade. On the other hand, I think that the cooperation that we are looking at in the very significant way, we are also discussing the free trade agreement, and I think last year we also signed an investment agreement with them. So the institutional packages and mechanisms are very much being placed, and hopefully this bilateral agreement will also be signed very soon on the free trade between the two countries, and more investments will take place on both sides. Likewise, we have seen that Israel has been requesting India to send a lot of workforce, and India has agreed to that. So of the 17 agreements you've seen, 4 or 5 are actually pertaining to the mobility of the workers in different sectors. In fact, I
Yes.
have for the first time seen that for each sector you have a different understanding and how it will be handled. I mean, that's a
Even
very
in the case of
interesting.
restaurants.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. It's very interesting. It's very focused, and that means that a very careful calibration has been made exactly going there and how it will happen. And the Prime Minister also mentioned, I think, in his speech about the presence of Indians and that the brave Indians have been working there.
And I mean, no two nations can really increase the proximity between each other without increasing the proximity between their people themselves. And Israel and India have had a long history, over 2 millennia old, of interactions. There are people of Jewish origin here. There are people of Jewish faith who've gone from India and settled in Israel as well. How important is that bond and the efforts that have been made through this particular bilateral interaction, this visit, to enrich and enhance that further?
Well, you are right, absolutely. I mean, in India, we had the Jews persecuted all over who have come here, stayed here, and Prime Minister also in his speech mentioned about the Maharaja who got the Polish Jews to come and stay here. More than 80,000 Jews of Indian origin have migrated, and Israel has also invited the remaining of them. But I tell you, when I was visiting Israel, I met many of them, and you'll be surprised that those who have gone from Bombay and all that, they still miss India a lot. And so therefore this visit and the kind of interaction, they are live bridge actually between India and Israel. And that's very important, apart from the more and more Indians who are going, whether they are caregivers or now in the IT sector, in the education, or so many areas that the Indians are now going there, and so are the Israelis. I mean, the most of the Israeli young men and women after their military service, which is very, very extraneous, want to have 1 month or 2 months free time, and they just prefer Indian mountains or the beaches and others, and they're always here. And I think the Prime Minister is invited, and we have seen that now that we have the UPI will also be active there, as well as more frequency of flights will be there. It will be, I think that it will increase. We only hope that the peace will prevail in the region, which is extremely important.
And the Instagrammable moment, since Prime Minister Modi has become the most popular political figure with more than 100 million followers, was him meeting the team members of the Israeli series Fauda as well. Leo Raz was also there, who plays the
Yes.
principal character Doron. What do you make of this particular aspect of popular culture also influencing how ties between India and Israel go into a different domain?
Well, I think that at the popular level, I mean, when you see or ask anybody, there is a tremendous regard and affection for each other uh, in the civilizational context and in the context of people-to-people movement, and all the, whether it's tourism, whether it is education, or the collaboration in the technology domain. I mean, this all inter alia brings about the greater interaction between the people on both sides. As the Israelis often say that, we are a small country with a large heart, so we are very happy to welcome you, but we can't have many, many thousands of Indian students coming there because they can't handle it physically. So, but this is quite a well and calibrated kind of engagement. And I think they understand very well that what are India's red lines are also very important given the way the situation in West Asia is prevailing, which is an existential threat to India in case there is a destabilization in the region.
Yes, certainly. Well, let's hope that rapid progress is made in terms of not just building back to the levels of trade that was there between India and Israel before the conflict in Gaza began, but also on other fields, especially where technology is concerned. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment,
Thank you.
Ambassador
Thank you.
Trigunayar.